The fog rolled in from the Pacific, wrapping the small town of Tillamook, Oregon, in a soft gray haze. Agnes Harper, 76, knelt in her community garden, her hands deep in the cool soil. Her silver hair was tucked under a faded scarf, and her knees ached, but the garden, her sanctuary for 40 years, was worth every pang. Rows of dahlias, zucchini, and sunflowers bloomed around her, each plant a memory of the daughters she'd raised here. Ellen, now a lawyer in Seattle, and Marie, a chef in Portland. Agnes had taught them to plant seeds, to nurture life, believing love would keep them rooted. But roots, she'd learned, could be ripped out. 2 months ago, a phone call from Ellen had shattered her world. "The garden's land is valuable, Mom," Ellen said, her voice clipped. "Marie and I think it's time to sell. Developers are offering a fortune." Agnes had begged to keep it, her voice trembling, but her daughters dismissed her. "You're too old to manage it," Marie added. "We found a nice retirement home." They hadn't visited in years, hadn't seen the garden's new trellis or the kids who played here. The betrayal cut deeper than Agnes could say. Her husband, Tom, gone 5 years, would have fought for her. Alone, she felt like a weed in their plans. Agnes stopped tending the garden's edges, letting weeds creep in. Instead, she planted one last season, whispering goodbyes to each seed. The townsfolk noticed her solitude. "You okay, Agnes?" they'd ask at the market. She'd nod, hiding the ache. But one person saw through her. Javier, a lanky 16-year-old with a mop of dark hair, shooed up one misty morning, his backpack slung low. He was a volunteer, sent by the high school's community service program. But his guarded eyes told Agnes he carried his own pain. "Need help?" he mumbled, kicking dirt. "Sure," Agnes said, handing him a trowel. "Plant these marigold seeds. Gentle now." They worked in silence, the fog muffling the world. Javier returned the next day, then the next. Agnes learned he lived with his uncle after his parents' messy divorce. "They fight over me like I'm property," he confessed one afternoon, yanking a weed. "Like I don't matter." Agnes paused, her trowel hovering. "I know that feeling," she said softly. She told him about her daughters, the land sale, the retirement home. Her voice cracked, but Javier listened, his eyes fixed on the soil. "That's messed up," he said. "This garden's special. It's like it holds the town together." Agnes looked around, at the sunflowers nodding in the breeze, the hand-painted signs from years of community picnics. "It was," she said. "Not sure it matters now." Javier frowned. "It matters to me, to the kids who play here. You can't let them take it." His words sparked something in Agnes. That night, she couldn't sleep, her mind buzzing. The garden wasn't just hers. It was Tillamook's. The kids who learned to plant, the families who shared harvests, the old folks who sat on its benches. She couldn't let it become condos. The next morning, Javier found her at the garden, weeding without being asked. "Javier," she said, "what if we made this place a memorial? Something the town can't ignore?" His eyes lit up. "Like what?" "A history garden," Agnes said. "We'll plant sections for Tillamook's past. Loggers, fishermen, farmers. Show the developers this land's worth more than money." Javier grinned. "Let's do it." They got to work. Agnes sketched plans, her hands shaky but sure. Javier recruited his friends, a ragtag crew of teens who hauled soil and painted signs. Agnes told stories of Tillamook's past. Her grandfather, a logger. Her mother, a cannery worker. They planted lavender for the fishermen's wives, sturdy pines for the loggers, and wheat for the farmers. Word spread, and neighbors joined in. Mrs. Callahan, the baker, brought seedlings. Mr. Ruiz, the librarian, dug up old photos for signs. The garden bloomed with purpose. One evening, as they finished a section, Javier said, "My uncle says you're stubborn as a mule. I think you're awesome." Agnes laughed, her first real laugh in months. "You're not so bad yourself, kid." But time was running out. The developer's deadline loomed. A week away. Agnes and Javier organized a town meeting at the garden, stringing fairy lights and setting out chairs. The whole town showed up, their faces glowing in the dusk. Agnes stood, her voice steady despite her nerves. This garden's our heart. It's where we taught our kids to grow, where we buried our sorrows and celebrated our joys. My daughters want to sell it, but I say it's ours. Who's with me? The crowd erupted in cheers. Javier, holding a sign that read, "Save Our Garden," beamed. People shared stories, how Agnes helped them plant their first tomatoes, how the garden hosted weddings and memorials. By the end, they'd formed a petition to declare the garden a historic site. The next day, Agnes mailed the petition to the town council with copies to Ellen and Marie. Her phone rang that night. It was Ellen, her voice softer than before. "Mom, we didn't realize. The garden means so much. We're sorry. We'll stop the sale." Her throat tightened. "Thank you," she whispered. She didn't know if trust could be rebuilt, but it was a start. The council approved the petition, and the garden was saved. On a crisp November morning, Agnes and Javier planted a final rosebush, its petals bright against the fog. "For you," he said, handing her a small sign he'd carved. Agnes's garden. Agnes's eyes misted. Her daughters had betrayed her, but this garden, this boy, this town, they were her family now. She knelt, pressing her hands into the soil, feeling its heartbeat. The garden wasn't forgotten. Neither was she.